this also. All right. So my name is Gayan Vijay Singh. You have seen me before, as I just said, and that's my name. That's my email address. I am your lecturer. That's why I'm standing here. Surprise, surprise. I'm also your tutor. I gave you this speech not too long ago, earlier this week. All right. So I was saying that our lectures are on Fridays, and we have all of our tutorials or practicals, what do you want to call them, on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and finally we have the lecture, which is a sort of like a back to forward thing under normal circumstances. So this allows me to do a couple of interesting things. First of all, if you have already been to the practicals this week, you know that we did quite a few things in getting everything all set up and ready to go, which means we can get straight to business in this lecture. Otherwise, normally the lecture will be like, oh, lecture, you're supposed to sit and take notes on the boring stuff, right? Now we can get straight to business. That's a good thing, all right? So there's a silver lining in this setup, all right? And what else? All right, so there's a whole lot of stuff that I want to tell you, because there's a whole lot of interesting things that I think students should know. But of course, even 2 hours is not enough. So I will be adding insight and stuff like that as we go. And so it comes from a good place. Right now, I've mentioned this in the tutorials. I've been teaching here for a long time. I have been teaching at RMIT for 13 years. I have been lecturing since 2006. I started teaching when I was a student, just like you folks here, but not in my first year. So I've been here. I've seen a lot of students, and I've been teaching programming pretty much the whole time, right? So what that has done is it has given me insight as to where you're headed. I can tell, and I want everyone here to head to a good place at the end of this semester. All right, so you will hear me repeat stuff. You will hear me go on and on about stuff. The amount of time I spend repeating or going on about something, it's proportional to how important it is. I'm a pretty scientific guy. I try to be. All right, and I only tell you the stuff you need to, the really important stuff I emphasize. So when I tell you something, you have to do it. Not because Gayan said so. No, don't worry about me. This is what has worked for tons of people like you. And when I mean tons, actually lots of tons, because so over the 13 years, I've taught, I don't know, I haven't counted, definitely over 10,000 students. That's a lot of students. All right. I've seen people pass. I've seen people fail. I've seen everything. I've seen people from all kinds of different backgrounds, and you name it. I've seen it. I've heard all of the stories. So everything that I put into the material, that's stuff that you definitely need to know. Stuff that you will find useful eventually. Stuff that will, not just that, stuff that will set you apart from the rest once you graduate. Now let's get this clear, right? You are here not because this is daycare, right? You are here because you want to one day graduate and you want to get a good job, all right? Maybe it involves programming, and you're going to get paid big bucks. Why would, now let's say that you, right? If you were going to start your own business, right? And if you were hiring programmers, if you came across people who have a transcript saying they got, mark for introduction to programming, how would you feel about that? What would you think if you're hiring them for a programming job? Probably, you'll be like, I better shop around for who else is there, right? So you want to do well in this subject. You need to, because really, if you have anything less than a really good mark against introduction to programming, it's not going to look good. You don't want to repeat, right? This is definitely a path you don't want to go down. If you're repeating right now, that's okay. You know, that's not a bad thing. It's just that you don't want to keep on doing it. All right. But yeah, you definitely don't want a bad mark next on the transcript, because guess what? You know, this is one of the first things that will appear on your transcript, right? It's the first impressions that you will give to anyone who's going to ever look at your transcript or ever going to ask you about programming. So that makes it pretty serious. Not because I said so, because everyone else, that's what, I'm not going to be hiring you unless I, you know, look for programmers or something like that. But, you know, this is going to matter no matter what you do after graduating. So you have to take this work seriously. It's called Introduction to Programming, but it's not a subject where, or it's not a course in which you can coast. All right, you can't just barely get through. I don't want anyone to do that. If anyone's planning on, okay, I'm doing this for the sake of doing it, look, I will do my best to help you take a lot more than just getting a pass. All right. So as you know, I am also a tutor, which enables me to actually speak to you outside the lecture times. That's a thing that I want. I told them, look, I want to do the tutorials because I want to get to know these people. I want to help them out, even at an individual level. Look at any lecture. A lecturer in a reasonably sized subject, they can't go up to each and every person and talk to them and find out how they're going. Right? There's no time for that. There's only one person here. There's almost 150 people here. Supposed to be 150 anyway, right? So that's why I'm doing the tutorials as well. I could have easily said, oh, just let the tutor take care of that. No, I want to get, well, as far as a teacher is concerned, I want to get my hands dirty, or let's say hands-on, all right? Let's be positive. Right, so I want to get my hands on with the teaching process, the whole thing, all right? So I don't want to sit here or stand here, talk for 2 hours, then you turn up next week and in between you don't ever come across me and I have no idea about how you're going, all right? So that's why I organize it like that, and I want you to keep that in mind, all right? So a lot of people think, okay, who's here in uni for the first time? Anyone in uni for the first time? All right. Just a heads up, all right? I'm guessing if you're doing the subject, even if you're not here for the first time, it's probably early on, right? There's no such thing or no such person as like a magical teacher. There's no such thing, all right? As I said, I've seen people get all kinds of results. It's primarily because of the effort that you put in, all right? No jokes here. I'm not sugarcoating this. It's all about focus multiplied by the amount of time, not just the time you put in. People say, you know, put in time. Well, time is good, but if the focus is 0, what's the end result? 0, right? So that's wasted time. You need to be focused, and you need to do the work. I mean, as obvious as it may sound, you have to do everything that we are going to have in this subject. Like I said, I don't fool around. I only have the stuff that's completely essential, all right? And, okay, guys, all right? So, stuff that's completely essential, and so I have streamlined everything, all right, in a way that it works for students. I have done this many times, and I've had a lot of success in my teaching methods. So that's also probably why they got me to teach this subject. So, all right, so let's just have a look at the lecture slides. So the lecture slides are on the blackboard. Now, one of the things I said on the blackboard, if I can find it, Here we go. The announcement section, right? The first announcement. These announcements are really important. Now, in any subject, in any course, it's like the fine print, or call it whatever you want. It's the mandatory stuff that you absolutely need to read, right? Even in the most laid back or relaxed subjects, you are expected to read the announcements. Now, I know from experience and through what people ask me, not everyone has read through this. Big mistake number one. All right, you have to read everything. All right, read everything that I tell you. These are all important stuff. I even went as far as highlighting stuff in red to make it easier to catch your eye, right? So number 3, bring a laptop. Right now, this is a pretty important thing. If you don't have a laptop, you are going to struggle. Okay, you'll need to either borrow one, or you'll have to come up with some kind of alternative. Don't steal, by the way. Say steal. That's not the kind of alternative I'm talking about. Borrow one, or buy one, or rent one. I don't know, hire one. And so, and we need that because look, seriously, this is programming. How can you program without a computer? Right? Makes sense, right? I mean, fair enough. If you were studying photography, you'd be spending tens of thousands of dollars buying high-tech cameras, lenses, tripods, tripod gear, lighting equipment, all kinds of stuff. If you were studying any other subject, like, I don't know, medicine, you'd be buying a ton of books. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying you need to have a laptop in the class so that, well, not just for programming, you can do whatever you want with it, right? So bring a laptop. Find some way to gain access to a laptop if you don't have one. All right. And the other thing, make sure your laptop doesn't run out of battery. Right. I mean, it's a common sense thing. So, all right. So let's get to the lecture slides. How do we get to the lecture slides? We go through course materials. And what do we look at? Here we go. Lecture 1. Now, most of you have seen this practical tutorial 1 PDF. We went through that already, right? That's the one we did in the classes earlier this week. You have done the last 2 things. Week 1 prac submission 1, week 1 prac submission 2. That's the one where you said what you like to do with programming. And the first one was the one where you uploaded your Hello World program, right? So that's done, and there is a new one. So week 1 lecture submission. So if you look at the course guide of the subject, you would have seen already. I'm assuming that you have already looked at it. There are assessments in the practicals, tutorials, what you want to call them, and as well as in the lectures. All right. So you need to submit something at the end of each lecture. So it's important that you turn up. All right. I also record these lectures, not because people should skip the lecture, but because people should revise. Okay, right. So let's take a look at this. So this is our first lecture. Isn't that exciting? Right, lecture 1. Right, and let me go through a few things. So that's me again, right? And if you're dropping me an email, and I strongly encourage people to email me. The problem is I don't get emails from people, especially when they're in trouble. Anyway, if you're emailing me, start your subject line with this code, right? Because that's the code of this subject. All right. So don't say intro to programming, by the way, or in ITP or anything like that, because I actually happen to teach another introduction to programming at RMIT and for online students. So I don't know which one you're from, and it'll be let's put it like this. It'll be time that I have to spend on teaching that will be wasted. All right. So you don't want to waste that. So just say which subject, which enrollment you're from. We will also have 2 lab assistants. So some of you have already met Wu, and some of you have met Robbie or Robert. He prefers to be called Robbie. These are also very experienced, very enthusiastic, caring people. So they are also here to help. And I chose these 2 people, these 2 guys, because I've worked with them before and I see that they are not fooling around. When they go to class, they actually care about teaching. They are not there just because they have to be there to make money or whatever. They are there to they care. All right, short story. I will also have consultation times. I will announce these things later on when when I know a little bit more about what works for people and what doesn't. All right. So assessment structure. Now this is basically what's there in the course guide. The course guide is a little bit vague when it comes to the naming. Basically, the assessment during the lecture is 10 marks. There will be assessments during practicals, tutorials, labs, whatever you want to call them, right? It's the same thing. The 2-hour session that you would have already been to this week, they add up to 20 marks. And there are 2 assignments. The first one is 10. The other one is also 10. The exam is 50 marks. So if by chance you are familiar with how this course ran last semester, it's different. So keep that in mind. If you heard anything, if you experienced anything with this course before, things are a little bit different. Okay, so if your total is, how do we read this thing? Yeah, so what do we have here? We have the pointy thing, right? That's greater than. Why do we call it greater than, not less than? Because it starts with the big side, right? We are reading from left to right, right? It's greater than. Then equals to. Now, surprisingly, some people say equals to or greater than. No, we don't put the equals before, right? So we say greater than or equals. So little programming things are there in everything. All right, so what is it saying? If the total is greater than or equals to 80, then the grade is high distinction, and that's supposed to be gold, right? I'm sure you can't tell because gold is not exactly a color, but I can't make it shiny, unfortunately. But so that's gold. That's what you should aim for. See how I haven't colored anything else? I haven't given a scale of colors. I haven't faded it to silver or bronze. That's because others don't matter. This is introduction to programming. This is the first thing that's going to be on a transcript. You need a high mark for this. Now, if you didn't get a high mark for this at some point, if you're repeating, that's okay. You want to overwrite that with something saying, yes, no, I can do this stuff. All right, it's just something else. All right, that happened last time. So you need to aim for a HT, and it can be done easily. All you need to do is just follow the instructions. I'll tell you about that in a bit. And yeah, you know the grade structure, right? So we say if it's greater than or equals to 80, then the grade is high distinction. Else, in other words, otherwise, if the total is greater than 70, then what do you get? A distinction, right? Yeah. Else, in other words, if it's not any of these ones, what do you get? If it's not any of these ones, and if the total is greater than or equals to 60, you get a credit. All right. So now I'm sure a lot of you think that, okay, that looks like a programming thing. And yes, well, it's sort of like programming. It's not exactly a programming language thing, but it's a structured thing, just like what we have in programming. So programming is fairly intuitive. It's the way we want to do things properly, right? But we just do that stuff with computers. So that's what programming is about. All right. So unless stated explicitly, everything everything you submit must be your own work. All right. So that goes without saying. And RMIT takes plagiarism very seriously. Now, any one of these days, we are going to have the person who's leading the plagiarism detection campaign, Byron, I think. Anyway, so they have actually appointed a whole team of people to look into people's submissions. All right, and yeah, if you ever get caught, there's going to be, it's very serious. All right, they are not fooling around. Now, normally what happens is, the lecturer or the marker uh, marks a few students, and another one marks a few students, and then they might see a similarity, and they'll be like, oh, I think there might be something here, and then it gets pulled up. This time it's not like that. They are going to run it through software. They are going to look at everyone's stuff and compare things against each other. It's going to be super serious. So you don't want to mess around. Why do people turn to plagiarism? How do you end up in that situation? I personally don't think that anyone wants to do evil. I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning like in the cartoon villain style, let's do something terrible today, right? I don't think anyone thinks like that. Even the people who do the worst things that we can imagine, I think what makes them do those things is they wake up and think, okay, there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. That's all it takes. There's nothing wrong.
It's lazy and ignorance.
Well, whatever it leads to that, so if you think there's nothing wrong, there's no harm, others are doing it. No, that's how people justify the worst things you can ever imagine. Now, take your pick about what's the worst thing that anyone, what people do, what people are capable of. Those people probably thought, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. According to the way I think, this is fine. Right? Take your pick. I'm sure that's how they thought when they justified their actions. Same goes with plagiarism. That's how people end up in that situation. They think, oh, it's fine. I need to get through this. Or that's fine. I've seen someone else do it. That's fine. I've heard other people say you can do it. Or that's fine. I really need this. So it's not fine. Again, how do you avoid getting into that situation? Do the work every week, and I will tell you the recipe. It's almost like I rehearsed for this thing. Anyway, all right. How to do this? Grade is high distinction. So that's what we had on the previous slide, right? I said this is the only thing that matters, right? I said everyone here is capable. Maybe you got a 0 the last time you tried this subject, right? Doesn't matter. I don't care. It's different. I'm teaching it. Different people teaching it. Materials different approach, different time. Everything's different. Doesn't matter. If you hated programming from the beginning, from the day you were born, doesn't matter. We will try. Okay, I will try to help you get a HD. So the recipe for success in Introduction to Programming. Now this is a 12 credit point subject. Now that's a curious number. And I'm saying, okay, so the outside box is the recipe. Right? That's what I am giving to you. I'm handing you the outside box. Right? Now I can make a copy of this and I can give to all of you. Right? The outer box. Now inside the outer box, there's one thing. There's something inside. Right? First thing says, while the semester is in progress, each week, right? And then there's another box inside. Which means that this belongs, or whatever I have highlighted, the 4 lines I have highlighted, belongs to that part where I said, while the semester is in progress. All right? So each week you have to attend practicals and do all of the work. Goes without saying, right? It's not just about going there. You have to do the work. Don't let your friend sit and type like a pro, because that's what people do. All right? Then you get intimidated. Then you're like, We've all been there, at some point. Okay, don't get intimidated by people who look like they know everything. It doesn't matter what they think. All right, let me tell you that. Focus on what you are doing. All right, don't let other people make you feel too smart or too dumb. It's just bad for you. All right, either way. All right, so attend practicals and do all of the work. Doesn't matter if other people, your friend is doing the work or not. It doesn't matter if your friend's not there in the class that week. Doesn't matter if your friend thinks or anyone else thinks that this is not important. If it's there, it's important. Why? Because people who have taught over and over again, or people who have seen students like you go through this process thousands and thousands of times, like me, know that this is important. there's no one else in this audience enrolled in this subject who knows about that stuff better than me, right? Of course, the lab assistants also are there to help you, but I'm the one who's organizing everything. I'm the one who's creating the content. That stuff is there because it's important to you. Again, it doesn't matter what other people do. It doesn't matter, all right? So you have to internalize these things. There are things that students don't quite get when it comes to what needs to be done, all right? So because we get into patterns, humans get into patterns, all right? So attend the practicals and do all of the work. That's 2 hours, and that's teacher guided. Attend the lectures and learn all of the concepts. Again, goes without saying, it's not just about staying here. Remember, I said time multiplied by focus. That's good. I heard at least one person say that. That's a big relief for me. All right. So 2 hours, and it's also teacher guided. All right. Okay. So that just adds up to 4. All right. Work on any related assignment or released assignments. Okay. If there's an assignment released, right now there isn't one. I'll tell you that. You need to spend about maybe just approximately between 0 and 4 hours. If there's no assignment, of course you can't spend any. So that's why it says 0 hours. But if there's an assignment, maybe you might want to spend up to 4 hours on the assignment. That seems like a lot of time, right? Because the class has just added up to 4, and suddenly we are telling you to do 4 hours of up to 4 hours of assignment work. All right. And then it says a fourth one: find code examples and modify them. Not study, not independent study. It's very specific. Find code examples and modify them. Now, what was one of the last things we did in the practical this week? We looked at code online, right? And we could take other people's code and run it and see. Now that's a fantastic start, because now you can do that fourth thing as well. You can find code. I will show how to do this over and over again. So if you missed anything, I will be showing. So here's a weird one: 8 hours minus assignment time. What does that mean? So if you spent 0 hours on the assignment because there was no assignment, you should be spending 8 hours on independently finding code and playing with them, right? I'm not telling you what kind of code to look for or what kind of examples to look for. You can shop around, find anything you like, just modify them, play with them, see how they change. If you spend 4 hours on the assignment, let's say you spend 8 hours minus 4. How many hours is that? 4 hours, right? So I said this 12 is a curious number. It's talking about credit points. It also happens to be the indicator of how many hours you should spend each week. All right, on the subject each week, on each subject, each course, right? So you do that until you do what's inside the innermost box. When do you stop? When would you stop? Yeah, so it says while semester in progress, right? You keep on doing the stuff inside the small box, the smallest box. And then if we have stopped, which means we have finished the semester. All right, so at the end of the 12 weeks, by semester, that's what we mean, each week. So after that, you do the exam. All right, so here we have a recipe. A program is also like a recipe. So 2 golden rules. Remember, read every word in class materials and instructions. Everything is there for a reason. Don't skip. All right, so that's actually the next one. Listen to the advice that I give and your instructor or the lab assistants give. If they tell you to do something, do that. That's important. If I show how to write a program in class, try to do it that way, because then we will all get into a consistent thing where we are all speaking in the same frequency and we'll all understand each other. Not just you understanding me, I will understand you as well. All right, we need that to happen, right? We need it to be from both sides. So listen to how we conduct the class and do the things the way we do in class, and you'll be fine. Again, that's about focus. Focus on the work and you'll be fine. All right, so then do the given work each week. All right, second one, leave no gaps. Again, I went on about this in the classes. Gaps mean you're going to have bigger gaps. Those are going to expand and you're going to end up here. All right, a fail. All right, so gaps, it's not people not understanding programming. There's no such thing. It's because people left gaps that they didn't pass. Let's put it that way. All right, so that's how people fail. It's because I don't think that there's anyone here who can't do programming. Okay, I wouldn't be bothering to talk this much, shout this much, if I thought that there are people who can't be reached. I think that all of you can get a HD, all right, but you can't leave gaps, right? So one, do everything, read everything, don't leave gaps there, and leave no gaps in the work that you do. If you miss this week, do this week's work before you start next week's work. In any other subject, I said in a subject like history, you would have done before maybe. You can say, oh look, there's a big chapter in the book that I didn't cover, and I'm just going to forfeit that when it comes to the final exam. I'm just going to study everything else and do everything else properly. You can't really do that with programming. All right, so even the stuff we did earlier this week, even before the first lecture, that stuff is going to matter as long as you're programming. I said 40, 50 years down the line, if you're going to be programming, that stuff you did earlier this week will matter. You can't leave that. You can't leave gaps. All right, moving on. So what you need to do during this lecture. Now, I said that there are things you need to do during the lecture. Let me just this is the schedule. Here we go. So if you go to schedule and deadlines, you can get the same document. Basically, that's the schedule. That's the week number on the first column, right? That's the week starting now. This is the first week, right? It started on Monday, the 17th, and it'll end on the 23rd, right? And the next week will be from the 24th and so on. So this week, you had a practical assessment, and there's a lecture submission that you need to do, right? And there's so the assignments are due on these during these weeks. So it'll be due before end of week 5. This one that's for 10 marks, and this will be due before end of week 11. Can you see how it's between the start and the end of that week 11? So that's how you should read it. Okay, and so the practicals, the tutorials, whatever you want to call them, we had a warm-up, 0.5 marks. And if someone couldn't do that, let me know. I'll help you out. Okay, so because this is the first week. Now after that, from next week onwards, there will be assessments 1.5 marks each. Now during some weeks, there will be a little bit more. See, this is 2 marks, this is 2.5 marks. And you might also, if you have a good eye, you'll notice that in between the assignment is due. So what that means is that you will need to show some progress with the assignment as a part of the practical. All right. So it's not hard stuff. It's actually really easy stuff. Again, this is not going to break you. This is going to develop you, and this is going to be easy if you follow through. Okay, so it's not difficult. This is first year, first semester sort of stuff. All right, so after the assignment's due, as in after you submit the assignment, there's another one that's a little bit more than the usual 1.5. Okay, so that's the final demonstration you need to do this is 2.5. That's the final demonstration you need to do in the tutorial session. So same story here. Normally it's 1.5 marks, but just before an assignment is due, it's a little bit more because you need to show a little bit of work. So the whole reason, I'll tell you, I'll be transparent with you. The reason why we do that, and the reason why most subjects do that, can anyone tell me why they have a demo before the thing is due? Anyone? Sorry? No, not really. Well, that's one of the things, the final demo that people look for. But in the first demo, we want people to get started. I mean, that's the whole reason why there are periodical demos sometimes leading up to the final thing. People again leave things until the last moment. That's just the reality of humanity, all right? And they start when it's too late, and of course anything can be improved if you have more time. So you give half-baked effort and you end up with something less than what you are really capable of. So we don't want that. We want to encourage you. That's the whole reason why we have these demonstrations before, and we also have the demonstrations after. Yes, we want to know, we want to hear it from your own voice what you did, because the file that you submit or the files that you submit online, that's just lifeless, right? It can be interpreted in any way. We want to know what thought process went into your work. So that's basically what the final demo is about. Yeah, so it's all there to help you out. And the mid-semester break is here. This time it starts on a Monday, which is ideal. So that's that. You can search for the RMIT academic calendar for higher education, and you can get this. Not this exact structure, but you can get the weeks and find out. The exams somewhere between the 10th of October and 11th of November. Sorry, 10th of November. And exam timetables are not finalized too early anyway, so we don't know when it's going to be. But it's going to be a 50-mark exam. So I said that's up from last semester's 30 marks for the final exam. So it means that it matters. Now at this point, a lot of people will be like, will you be releasing a sample exam? Will you be helping us out? Are there any past exams? Those are the normal questions. Yes, there are past exams, but you'll probably will get misled if you follow this, because the structure is different. As I said, last time it was 30 marks. This time it's a 50-mark exam. It's a bit more serious. In that sense, it matters more. I will be releasing a sample exam. Okay, so that sample exam will be made specifically for this semester's exam. All right. So this is really important stuff, folks. And it's more work for me, honestly, but I do it. Most people, a lot of people in my experience, a lot of teachers, they will just throw a whole bunch of old exams at the students, like, go play with this and keep yourselves busy. Don't bother me about the exam. I've already had trouble making it. No, I make a second exam in the same silhouette of the real exam. Same structure, same number of questions, same structure in each question. The questions will be about the same topics. They'll be worth the same mark. So basically, it's double the work for me. Trust me, making an exam is a lot of hard work. It's very difficult because we have to make sure that there are no ambiguities in how people can interpret it. So there's 150 people, and trust me, 150 people will see it in at least 20 different ways. All right, so we want to make sure that those are all focused, or they are all looking at the same question. So it's very difficult to make one exam. So it's a lot more work for me to make a second exam, to make it similar but not the same. So I am going through all that trouble. I'm not paid for it. I'm going through that trouble because I want you to do well. So that's why I say, when I tell you stuff, follow it, because it's very important for you. Any questions about the exam? It's a closed book exam, by the way. Now, some people don't like closed book exams because they think I had to remember these things. No, you don't need to remember. You will be tested on your problem solving and your experience, not on what's on this page or what's the definition of that. It's about problem solving. So if you can solve problems, that's all that matters. How do you get good at problem solving? By doing the weekly work. So it all fits together. All right. Moving on. All right. I said you need to have your laptops. And the reason is you need to take notes. Surprise, surprise. I mean, normally that's understood, right? We know that if you go to a class, we have to take notes. It's not high school anymore, right? So in tertiary education, you are expected to take notes. What I'm doing is I'm actually giving you marks for the thing you're supposed to do anyway. All right? Why? Because again, it matters. It's not just about me standing here and talking, you looking at me running some programs, and then going home and coming back next week. Nobody really learns anything that way. All right? Can you learn to ride a bicycle by reading books about it? No, you can't. It's the same story with programming. Take anything that needs practice. You can't read books about swimming and jump into a pool, right? Not into the deep, at least I don't recommend it if you can't swim. So same thing with programming. I can talk about it as much as I like, but unless you engage, folks, important stuff, right? Unless you engage with the material that I'm teaching you, it's just going to go over. And I've seen it happen over and over again. All right. So now what I want everyone to do is open up an empty text document. If you have a Windows machine, you can use Notepad, right? You don't need any fancy editors. If you have Microsoft Word, you can use that. If you have OpenOffice, who knows about OpenOffice? Not enough people. All right, OpenOffice is something you should all know about. Basically, it's a free Office software. All right, so you can download it. It has very similar features to Microsoft Office. It has you can create PowerPoint presentations in that exact same format. You can create Word documents. So you can create lots of things, and it's free. All right. So I don't know what else can be a better incentive. So you can use OpenOffice. It'll do everything. Tell you what you have spelled wrong and all those things, just like Microsoft Word. Consider using that. Microsoft Word is also available for students. You can use it for. But yeah, so if you're on a Mac, you can use TextEdit. You can also download this editor called Notepad++, which looks a bit like this. And it's something that a lot of programmers like to have around, at least when the friends come over. This is what I did. Right? And it looks cool. So Notepad++ is, I'm sure it's available for all platforms. Just any text editor. Open it up right now. Create an empty document and start taking notes. So we will also have activities. And of course, I'll be demonstrating things in the lecture. I'm not just going to be reading off the slides. No, I have in a bit here. But I will be demonstrating programs. This is not one of those things where you can just read the slides and forget about attending the lecture. I will be showing you how to do things, because this is a hands-on thing, programming. All right. So you need to take notes. You need to try some of those things out. You need to have Eclipse. Now that's what we did earlier during the week, right? We installed Eclipse. So you can code things up and all that. And anything that you think is important that you want to save for yourself to study from later on, you copy it into that empty text document. And so have it like this. Create an empty document like this and say week 1 lecture notes, and put a little underline, just like a total hacker, right? In plain text, right? So, and start writing your notes. Take your notes. Even say stuff like there are assignments. Where am I? Assignments and exams and stuff I need to do each week during the classes. All right, write down anything in your own words, in a stuff that's important, stuff that you think that someone else might find important if you were to give to them. All right, but don't give it to them, because sort of be plagiarism, but you need to do this anyway. All right, so I'm giving you marks for doing what you're supposed to do. All right, so these notes can be explanations. You can put little pieces of programs. You can say, I don't need like section headings. All right, write it in any way, but it can't be gibberish. Right, it has to be reasonable notes. I can tell. In the Java program, I have to finish most lines with a semicolon. Write whatever, just write little pieces of code. Have your Eclipse open, and then transfer any examples that you did, anything important, just put it back into that notes file, right? In the end, you'll be saving it and you'll be submitting it via this link. All right, week 1 lecture submission. It's named week 1 lecture submission. I know that maybe about 5 people here will submit it to week 1 prac submission or week 1 prac submission too. Right? Those are the statistics. So don't be in that category. All right, where do we submit the lecture notes? I want to hear from everyone. Otherwise, I'm going to do a vocalizing exercise or something. Yeah? Where do we submit? Sorry? All right. Okay. Now, I was thinking this morning, how do I wake people up? Do I get them to say, yeah, I'm happy to be here? No. I think we all should say Java. Say Java. Java. Louder. Just wake everyone up. Even if the person next to you is not saying it, wake them up. Say Java. 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 There you go. All right. Okay. Much better, right? Better than cheese, better than Konica, right? Week 1 lecture submission is the place. All right. Where? That's where you have to submit the notes today. All right. So open up that document. Now, good thing is, even if you have like a tablet right now, you can at least take some notes. If you don't have anything, you'll need to write it on paper, take it home, type it up, and submit it. Or go to a lab. There's actually not much time after the lecture to submit. You have to submit during the lecture itself. So there's about half an hour of a grace period. After that, you can't submit. So, but look, if anyone's got any special issues, fair reasons, that for some reason they can't come to the lecture for something, let me know. Okay, I'll help you out. I want you to do the work. That's the whole reason why we are doing all of these things. All right, only upload your text document. Don't upload any programs. Okay, so that's why it's colored in this color, right? I thought it was red, but it's orange apparently. But that's saying just one file, just the notes. Don't upload any programs. The notes need to have what I need to see. It's your responsibility to do this correctly. All right, so let's get to the next slide. All right, finally programming, right? Almost 1 hour after. Right, now let's get to this after a little break. All right, my throat needs a break, I know that. Take a 5-minute break. The time right now is 11:20. Come back, or we'll resume at 11.